We have had the development today of Russia announcing some, and I stress some, troop drawback. The Kremlin said that this was the plan anyway, all along, after wrapping up some military exercises. So do you think that this should be characterised as a de-escalation?
In and of itself, no. I mean, what this is symbolic. And obviously symbolism matters in politics. But we've actually just simply seen a slight reshuffling of forces. It seems to be largely within Crimea. And therefore, we can't say that the threat is gone. But you put this together with the Scholz visit, you put this together with the fact that yesterday there was a very sort of highly, carefully choreographed meeting of Putin and his foreign minister Lavrov, in which Putin asks, is it worth continuing the negotiations? And Lavrov says, yes, I think there is still mileage. And Putin says, fair enough, then go for it. So they're very much trying to signal at the moment that they think there is some kind of deal potentially in reach. They're absolutely not taking military force off the table, but I think they're clearly showing that it's plan B, not plan A.
Mark, to borrow your characterisation there about the choreography in terms of diplomatic optics and then also what we're seeing happening around contact points as well. And whilst all this choreography goes on, at the same time, what we're seeing in the Duma is the lower house voting on that text to recommend President Putin to recognise these breakaway regions in eastern Ukraine as independent. And my question to you is, will he, when, and what could that mean? Because NATO's already said today that if he does go ahead and do that, that would be a violation of international law.
Well, look, I think this is classic Putin in that he likes to give himself multiple options. He's not the sort of person who railroads himself into one standard plan, but instead looks to give himself different ways in which he can advance. This does hit that. I mean, what this means is the parliament, that frankly has very little power on such matters, simply proposes and recommends this. Now, he can either say, well, yes, I will do this because it is clearly the will of the Russian people, or conversely, he can actually present himself as in some ways the good cop and say, well, look, my parliament is demanding this, but I will not go ahead. So I think nothing has been decided. If it happens, though, in many ways, it will be an admission of failure, a retreat, in that it will absolutely torpedo Russia's chances of trying to influence Kyiv's trajectory in the long term through reintegrating these pseudo-states on its terms. And the irony is that although NATO is huffing and puffing about how it'll be a violation of international law, which of course it would be, but at the same time, I suspect that they and Kyiv would actually be very, very relieved by this, because in some ways it takes a whole Minsk issue off the table and just simply allows them to characterize the Russians as the bad guys, even though nothing really will have changed on the ground. So, I mean, it's an interesting and complex situation, but I think that from the Russians' point of view, it will be a fallback position rather than anything that they're especially eager to do.